AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she demanded I cut off a toxic friend from my life. I, 29F, have a sister, 27F, and we've always had a complicated relationship. We grew up close, but also fiercely competitive, and as adults, that tension hasn't completely gone away. Recently, it's come to a head over something that I never imagined would cause a major rift between us. For context, I've had a friend named Mia, 28F, for about 5 years. Mia and I met in college, and she's been a huge support system through some very difficult times in my life, including family issues, career struggles, and personal mental health battles. She's not the kind of person who filters her words or sugarcoats things, but she's fiercely loyal and honest. She's always been upfront with me when she thinks I'm making bad choices, and I appreciate that honesty, even if it sometimes stings. My sister, on the other hand, has never really liked Mia. She says Mia is too abrasive and negative, and she doesn't think Mia is good influence on me. The thing is, Mia has never done anything directly to my sister. They've only met a handful of times and never really clicked. But my sister has made it very clear that she doesn't want Mia anywhere near the wedding. Now, here's where things get messy. My sister got engaged about a year ago, and from the start, she insisted that it would be a big, extravagant wedding. She wants it to be a huge event with hundreds of guests, a fancy venue, and all the bells and whistles. She also made it known early on that she expected me to help financially. I work a decent job, while my sister has been struggling financially for years and still relies on her parents for most things. She said she'd cover a portion, but she wanted me to cover about 40% of the cost because I have a stable income. I agreed to help, partly because I wanted the wedding to be a good experience for her, and partly because I wanted to keep peace in the family. However, the caveat my sister put on me was that Mia absolutely could not be invited or involved in any way. She said Mia's toxic energy would ruin the event and that she didn't want any drama. I was caught off guard by the demand, but I tried to brush it off and suggested maybe Mia wouldn't come if she wasn't invited. My sister was not satisfied and then told me bluntly that if Mia was invited or if I continued my friendship with her publicly, she would refuse to allow me to contribute financially. That meant I'd be responsible for paying my entire 40% share on my own. At first, I tried to reason with my sister. I told her Mia is one of my closest friends and someone who has helped me through tough times. I explained that cutting her out of my life isn't something I can do just to keep the peace for a wedding. She accused me of choosing my friend over family and said if I really cared about our relationship, I'd respect her wishes. The tension escalated. I refused to give in, and my sister went full no contact with me. She also informed our parents, who sided with her, saying that Mia was not family and I should prioritize my sister. With my sister and parents both against me, I made the decision to stop contributing to the wedding. I told my sister that I wasn't willing to betray a friend to make her happy and that I'd pay what I could afford on my own but wouldn't fund her entire portion. She called me selfish and said I was being unreasonable. She also hinted that our family might exclude me from other events if I didn't comply. At this point, the family divide is clear. Some relatives are quietly supporting me. Others have taken my sister's side. The wedding date is in 2 months, and I haven't been invited to the final planning meetings or anything like that. I'm worried that if I show up, I'll be treated coldly or even asked to leave. Meanwhile, my friend Mia has been incredibly supportive and says she'll be there for me no matter what. She's told me to stand my ground and reminded me that loyalty means a lot, even if it means losing some family members temporarily. So here I am, stuck between paying a big chunk of money to keep my sister happy and cut off a friend who has been my rock, or refusing and risking my family's ire and being alienated from my sister and parents. AITA for refusing to cut Mia out of my life and pay for my sister's wedding under these conditions? Should I just suck it up and pay to keep the peace? Or am I justified in standing my ground? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? while working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to let my sister move back in after she ruined my wedding. I, 29F, got married last month to my husband, Daniel, 31M. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but instead, it turned into a complete circus because of my sister, Marissa, 27F. Now my family is divided, and people keep calling me cruel for turning my back on family. I'm starting to wonder if I went too far. For background, Marissa has always been dramatic. She thrives on attention. Growing up, if I got praise for something, she'd find a way to top it or make herself a victim. If I got good grades, she'd say I was showing off. When I got my first job, she told everyone I thought I was better than them. Our parents always brushed it off as sibling rivalry, but it never really stopped. When I got engaged, I braced myself for something. At first, she seemed genuinely happy for me. She even offered to help with planning. But over time, her comments started to shift. She'd say things like, "It must be nice being the favorite for once," or "You're lucky you found someone who can put up with your controlling side." It bothered me, but I didn't want to start a fight. Fast forward to the wedding day. Everything was going smoothly until the reception. During the speeches, my maid of honor, my best friend since high school, gave a heartfelt speech about how Daniel and I balance each other perfectly. When it was time for my sister's speech, she walked up to the microphone looking slightly tipsy. She started by saying, "Well, I wasn't sure what to say since I didn't think this would actually happen." Then she laughed awkwardly and said, "No, but seriously, we all know how particular my sister is. Poor Daniel. He's in for a ride." The room went silent. My dad tried to laugh it off, but she kept going. She brought up my phase in college when I had a rough breakup and said she was shocked I didn't run away before the ceremony like I used to run from everything else. At this point, I could feel my face burning. Daniel squeezed my hand, trying to calm me down. Then she said something that crossed every line imaginable. She mentioned that Daniel and I had briefly broken up 2 years ago when I found out he'd been messaging an ex. That was something deeply personal that we had worked through privately, and almost no one at the wedding even knew about it. She said in this mocking tone like, "But hey, they made it back together after he flirted with his ex, so maybe they're meant to last after all." I got up, walked to the DJ, and told him to cut her mic. The entire room was in shock. My mom followed me, asking what I was doing, and I just said I couldn't listen to another second. Daniel looked mortified. His family was whispering. It was the most humiliating moment of my life. After the speech fiasco, my sister disappeared for most of the night. She texted me the next morning saying she might have gone too far, but it was all in good fun. I didn't respond. A week later, she called me crying, saying she'd been kicked out of her apartment because she couldn't pay rent after losing her job and she needed a place to stay. Here's the thing. Before the wedding, I had already agreed to let her stay with us temporarily if she needed to, since she'd been struggling financially. But after what she did, I couldn't stomach the thought of living with her. I told her no. I said I didn't trust her, that she had disrespected me and my husband, and that she needed to take responsibility for her actions. She flipped out. She said I was ruining her life over a joke. My mom called me, saying Marissa was staying with her temporarily, but that her place is too small. She asked if I could be the bigger person and help. I told her no again. My mom started crying, saying I was being cruel and that family forgives. My dad, on the other hand, said he understood and told me not to feel guilty. Daniel supports me 100%, saying he doesn't ever want her near us again. But now half my extended family is gossiping about how cold I am and that I humiliated Marissa by cutting her mic. For context, I've always been the responsible one in my family. I'm the one who helped my parents pay bills when my dad lost his job. I'm the one who lent Marissa money multiple times. The last time, she forgot to pay me back and said it was my fault for not reminding her. I think years of enabling her just taught her that there are no consequences. Still, when I see her posts online, saying things like some people choose pride over compassion, I feel guilty. I know she's struggling, and part of me feels like I'm abandoning her. But another part of me knows that letting her move in would be asking for more chaos. 2 nights ago, my mom called again, saying Marissa had nowhere to go and was sleeping in her car. She asked if she could at least stay just a few weeks. Daniel said it's my call, but he made it clear he'd be uncomfortable with it. He said, "If she can humiliate you in front of everyone we know, imagine what she'll do when she's living under our roof." I told my mom no for the final time. She hung up on me. Since then, my phone has been blowing up with texts from relatives saying things like, "She's your sister. It's not that deep. You're punishing her forever for one bad night." But it doesn't feel like one bad night. It feels like years of being disrespected finally boiling over. I want peace in my new marriage. I want to start my life without constantly cleaning up my sister's messes. Still, when I think about her sleeping in her car, I get this ache in my chest. I don't want to be heartless. I just don't know how to balance compassion with boundaries anymore. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister move back in after she ruined my wedding and humiliated me in front of everyone I know. AITA for refusing to take in my sister's kids after she went to jail and causing a family rift. So, this is going to be a long one, but I'll try to keep it clear. I, 38M, have always been the responsible one in my family, and my sister, 34F, has a history of making terrible decisions. She's had a pretty rough life, including struggles with addiction and some legal troubles, but things recently hit a new low that's put me in a really tough spot. Background: my sister and I grew up together with our parents in a small town. I've always been a pretty stable person, steady job, good relationships, and I've tried to keep my life drama-free. My sister, on the other hand, has bounced around jobs, had a few run-ins with the law, and went through a long phase of drug use. Over the years, I've tried to support her, from lending money to helping with her kids when she asked. She has 2 children, ages 8 and 5, who I adore, and I've spent lots of time babysitting and trying to help raise them. The situation started to spiral last year when she got arrested for possession and trafficking charges. It was a shock to the whole family, but most of us knew it was coming sooner or later. She's currently in jail, facing a sentence that will likely keep her there for at least a few years. When the news broke, my parents wanted me to step in and take care of the kids. They're older and retired, so they feel they can't manage 2 energetic kids full-time. My sister's husband, who isn't their biological father, disappeared from the picture shortly after her arrest, so the responsibility fell on us. Now here's where it gets complicated. I live in a different city about 300 miles away. I have a stable job that I love, and I'm married to my wife, 36F, who has a demanding career of her own. We don't have children, but we do have a dog and a pretty tight routine. Taking on 2 young kids would be a huge upheaval for us. I told my parents that while I am willing to help out, I cannot take full custody of my sister's kids. I offer to visit them regularly, help with legal fees, send money, and even arrange for childcare support locally for when my sister is out, assuming she gets parole or is released eventually. But full custody? Moving my whole life, quitting my job, uprooting my wife's career, and becoming a full-time parent to 2 children I don't have custody of? No. My parents were furious. They called me selfish and accused me of abandoning my niece and nephew. They said I'm the only one in the family with a steady income and that I'm shirking my moral responsibility. They even said that my wife should be supportive since these are her family as well. She's never met the kids or my sister's side of the family beyond a couple of holiday dinners. My wife, meanwhile, is upset with me for even considering uprooting our lives. She said she respects my desire to help, but that she won't be part of a plan that involves me quitting my job and taking on 2 kids full-time. She's concerned about the financial, emotional, and physical toll it would take on both of us. I'm stuck in the middle. I want to do right by my niece and nephew, but I can't sacrifice everything in my life overnight. My sister's kids have aunts and uncles who live closer to them, but most of them either don't want the responsibility or don't have the means to do so. My parents keep pressuring me, and now family gatherings have turned hostile. I even tried to speak directly with my sister, via calls and letters, since visits are limited, about guardianship and custody, but she insisted she wants the kids to be raised close to where they currently live and doesn't want to disrupt their schooling and friendships. She begged me to reconsider. So far, the kids are staying with my parents in a limited capacity, but they're struggling with the full-time care. My sister's ex disappeared, so he's not involved at all. The local social services are involved, but have only been able to arrange some support for my parents, who are not young and are finding the kids' energy overwhelming. I am genuinely torn. I want to help my family, but I also don't want to sacrifice my own stability and my marriage for something I'm not ready to do, especially since I'm not legally required to take custody. I asked my family if there was a middle ground like foster care or community support programs, but they argue that no one else is stepping up and that this is my burden as the responsible sibling. So, AITA for refusing to take custody of my sister's kids after her arrest? Should I be sacrificing my entire life to raise them? Thanks for reading.